Hello and welcome to Link's Awakening. Uh, it's been a while. Apologize for that, but I'm here now because we got a new game. Link's Awakening came out 4 or 5 days ago now, and wanted to stream it like day one out of the box, but still I don't really know about doing that. I kind of wanted some time to myself with the game, but I've played through it twice now in full, so I think we're good to go for a third playthrough on stream. So yes, welcome. Thank you for coming. Hello, Kevin. Hope you're all doing well. Back with sandwich. Is that your pulled pork sandwich? Yeah, I just got started. I played, I was looking for music to play during the starting soon screen and, disappointed by, Hyrule Warriors and Smash Brothers remixes of Tall Tall Heights. So, I went with some Cadence of Hyrule music, which, I don't have that yet, unfortunately. I've still not played that. But I have seen a bit of it, and I would like to at some point. But I had to kind of wait and make sure I had enough money for this. Let me know how the game volume is. I don't know if that's going to be too loud. But yeah, brand new Link's Awakening. We're finally playing a new game on the stream. A new game that was released in 1993. So, you see, I've done it twice. Once regular, once hero mode. Pretty sure I've done all that I could possibly do, but I don't really know how in-depth the whole Dampe chamber stuff goes, and there's no real indication of if I have everything or not. But as far as I know, that's 100%. So, but we're just gonna do normal for the stream because honestly, the beginning of hero mode was kind of annoying because I was constantly running back and forth to fairy fountains to ensure that I didn't in fact die. But like once you get access to the medicine and a bottle for a fairy and the blue tunic, things get pretty stock standard. But yeah, I apologize. I'm not really going to read a lot of the text, if any. Just because I feel like I have a lot to say tonight about this game, and I'll constantly be interrupting myself every 2 seconds with, text, and I would like to do, why did I think I could lift that? I would like to maybe do at some point when I play another game more like this, with, a lot of reading, to actually read everything and give people voices and stuff, but not for now. I thought the Dampe sections were just reused bits from older levels. They mostly are, yeah. Like, as you go through the dungeons, you get chambers from that dungeon. And there's like a few original ones too, but it's nothing. I thought it was pretty neat. I had like fun going through it. But it's not something I'm going to do extensively. I mean, like more than necessary. And stuff like that, because I do want to 100% this file. I'm going to do a bunch of stuff off stream that's just minor, like some of the Dampe stuff. There's like more fishing that you need to do than there was in the original game, more of the trendy game that you have to do. Stuff like that, I'll show off and then do the rest off stream. So yeah, if it's not apparent, I'm really happy with this. This was my first Zelda. It's at least the first one that I own. It's still my favorite. I've kind of jumped around over the years. Like for a while, I've said like Link to the Past was my favorite. For a period, I said Minish Cap was my favorite. For some time, I said Wind Waker was a favorite. But for the past several years, I've kind of like when I got reacquainted with the original of this, I kind of came to the conclusion that yes, this is definitely my favorite Zelda. You didn't seem like you wanted it when it came out, and now you're really over the moon about it now. I think, like, I'm more excited now that I'm playing it, and now that I get to revisit this game, and it's done so well. I have very few qualms about this game, this remake, rather. I mean, I'll point out stuff like as we go through it, but yeah, for the most part, this is fantastic, I think. It is a game, it's very faithful to the original, which is great, but is a game essentially the same as it was in 1993, worth $60 today? I'm not sure, but so the crane game is a little different, and as you've probably, you know, people have been talking about this for the past how many days now? 4 or 5. And you've probably seen people, yeah, do the crane game and fail because it now has actual physics. And I should have come with more rupees. And you really only needed to play that, like, one time in the original. Just to get the Yoshi doll. But there's a lot more to get this time around. This is my first Zelda, and I think second Game Boy game after Mario Land. I spent a lot of time in that field cutting the grass. Yeah, I feel like I'm doing that way more often in this one because it feels way quicker. The controls, you use the analog stick, but you're still limited to 8 directions, which is kind of weird. But I got used to it pretty quickly. I don't mind it too much. I don't know. When I first started playing it, like, my first instinct was to use the D-pad. And then it doesn't work. You can't. And then I was using the analog stick, and then, you know, it's still the 8 directions that you had in the original. Although, you can actually face diagonally. Which makes some things like shooting arrows and the hook shot and stuff you can shoot diagonally now. People say lack of a D-pad is a deal breaker. I figured it might not be a D-pad, but I checked anyway, and it's, like I said, I got used to it pretty quickly. I don't think, you know, people should, if that's their only reason, I don't think they should pass this up just because of that. Because then you're gonna miss out. Oh, come on. I haven't missed Yoshi this many times yet. Purple rupee is 50. So that probably would have been handy to get, but I'm just going straight for Josh. Get that trading quest started. This is the stream curse. You will always do worse on stream. It's true. I know anytime I'm going to try, you know, not just in this game, but anytime I hope I'm going to pull off something cool, it's not going to happen. At least not first try. So I never realized, you know, as many times as I've played this game, I'll talk to him in a second, Papal here, when he says, yeah, those are my boys, I never realized he was talking about all the children around the village. And I always thought that was like a typo or a mistranslation or something for some reason, and he was just referring to the baby. But yeah, all the boys are their children. They all have names now if you talk to them. Suni. There's 4 beds, yeah. Were there weren't, like, a bunch of beds in the original, were there? Because, like, that should have been an indication to me if there were. Isn't there one named, like, Kiddo? I think there might be. I didn't pay super close attention. Like, I already don't know their names, but that does sound right. Fishing is different now. And can be kinda hit or miss. You get a few more things for this, other than just, like, I think you got 1 heart piece out of this in the first game for catching one of the big fish. And now there's, like, a few heart pieces and shells, and there's more types of fish to catch as you progress through the game. I'll try get one of these big ones, and then I'm not gonna go back to fishing on stream. Got it. Oh yeah, you get different lures. So like, they kind of expanded in some ways on like all the mini games. I say all the mini games, but there's only like 3. This, the crane game, and the raft. way more reckless about fishing than Vin was. I don't even remember what he did with the fishing. I watched some of his second stream last night, but I haven't caught up with the rest of it. I watched until I think he finished Dungeon 3. I'm gonna try and do maybe, 3 dungeons tonight. Because this is not a long game, especially by Zelda standards, but compared to the other games I've played on stream so far, it is much bigger. So I don't know how many streams this is going to take, maybe 3 or 4. Yep, anytime I'm across grass, I'm gonna be cutting it. I apologize if that's annoying, but you can do so, like, I feel like it's so much faster. The sword swinging feels so much better than in the original. It feels tighter. There's a lot of little quality of life improvements that I love, while still remaining faithful to the original. Obviously, having your sword and shield at all time is great, and it gives me a reason to actually use the shield. And you do kind of use it more, I feel like, because, some of these, particular, like this Moblin, you kind of gotta get him vulnerable. Otherwise, you're just going to keep hitting his shield if you just try to, like, sword slash him. The fucking bow being 980 rupees in the original. Yeah. And you can at least, thankfully, go over 999 this time. Because I was always worried in the original, like, I would get to a dungeon with almost enough to buy the bow, and then I would find, like, a chest with a lot of rupees in it, and it wouldn't matter because I would max out anyway. In the Game Boy version, I always rolled with the feather and sword. I was just saying that to my brother. I think we both did the exact same thing. And even in this one, once I get the feather, I pretty much always had that bound to Y, except in, like, special cases. Because it's so helpful. I always had sword on B and feather on A. Unless I needed something else. So it's nice to have sword, shield, and then 2 items. So that sword and shield, neither of those take up one of the necessary buttons. So it makes things just so much nicer and so quicker, which I never minded that much in the original. But you do go in and out of menus quite a bit. Because you need... you'll be in one room needing one item, you'll be in the next room needing another, then you'll have to go back. So it's a lot nicer. It seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Pieces of Power and the Guardian Acorns in the original They lasted, depending on how many hits you took, I think. And in this one, they just seem timed. Which probably makes more sense. Because they could, you know, potentially, if you were good and never got hit, you could keep them for a long time. But they definitely seem shorter in this one, and I don't mind. Yeah, the Rupee Max in Link to the Past, I feel like that's even worse in Link to the Past because there's a lot of chests with 300 rupees in them. You buy a lot more stuff, you spend a lot more. And I feel like you're constantly like back and forth and trying to make sure you don't squander any big chests. Terran is how old Mario should be. You know what? I'm all for Mario being 26 or so. 24 or 26, depending on how Miyamoto feels that day. But I do love me some older Mario where it was just assumed he was like a middle-aged dude. I will never not love Lou Albano Mario. Yeah, what's your name? Yeah, there's Kiddo. Junior. Let me give the alligator some dog food real quick while I'm in the area. I never liked that the not Gordos were able to be destroyed by the sword. Gordos should never die. It wouldn't work in Kirby. I guess here it was just to give you a reason to use the shield early on when that's all you had. That crunching animation was cute. I love that they kept things with the character designs and the animations. They kept so many things like almost one-to-one with the original. Even the dialogue is almost entirely unaltered. There's like points here and there where they might like edit something or like add a little bit, or if like it's in reference to controls, then the text is going to be different. But like even I'd say like 95 or more % of the text in this game is exactly the same. And I'm so happy that they didn't, like, revamp a lot of these unique character designs. They really look like they just took the sprites and made them high def, in a way. I mean, I'll point out some things later that I was, you know, really happy with, but And I haven't heard too many people, you know, people were complaining about the style of this game when it was first announced. And that happened for a while, and I feel like I never really heard much about it again. And I'm sure there are people out there who are still very, like, against this style and like, oh, it's too cartoony, this is a serious game. I'm sure they're out there, but I haven't seen it. And I'd argue, you know, that this is probably the, like, cartooniest Zelda game. It had a lot of, like, weird silliness in it. It's hard to describe. It just has, like, its own unique tone that other Zelda games don't have. So I think a toy box kind of style like this works perfectly. I would have more to say on that. I don't know if this fucking matters. I'm going to try and not slip up and tiptoe around spoilers. Because there are a lot of people who have not played this game, and this will be their first exposure to it, and I don't know who's watching, but I don't want to ruin anybody's experience, so... I feel like there's no outrage for this game because Breath of the Wild released first. That sucker sort of nailed the realistic Zelda. Maybe realistic isn't the word, but serious is better. Yeah, absolutely. I think the series is varied enough that it can exist in both ways. Because it's not like a set... You know, like, it's not the same characters, really, every single time. Like, every Mario game is the same Mario. It's the same Peach. It's the same Bowser. It's the same Luigi. Many of the Zelda games are their own thing. So some can be presented one way, and some can be presented a completely different way. And I think Breath of the Wild, I haven't played that. I know that's a crime. I may play that ahead of the sequel, but I think that is excellent visually. I like that way more than, say, Twilight Princess or Ocarina of Time, in terms of, you know, the more realistic or serious Link. But I think because of the fact that this one is so, like, weird and silly and cartoony, I think that is part of why it's my favorite. This story means a lot to me as well. It does have the advantage of having nostalgia for me and it being my first Zelda, but that, I wouldn't... You know, I wouldn't say a game is my favorite just because of nostalgia or just because it was my first. Because there are plenty of games that I think the later games are way better than the earlier games. Whoops. Thought that would work. These do feel like they're a little more easier to get in this one. These, I think they're called 3 of a kind. they feel easier to get. I think they must be like a little slower, or I feel like in the original, when I'm looking at them, I have a panic attack, and I can't, like, my eyes kind of start to not interpret the moving, or the changing symbols fast enough. Oh yeah, one thing I like, when you jump and swing your sword, Link has this nice little, like, downward slash. I don't think it makes much of a difference, but it's really... I thought it was really nice when I noticed that. Just because, like, hey, this is a thing we can do now. Oh. I'm back. I ended up having a coughing fit and also poked myself in the eye. So, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember Moldorm being 2 hits in the original. I mean, granted, those were spin attacks, but even with spin attacks, I don't think... You'll see some of the bosses are slightly different, and I kind of like some of the things that they did. But I feel like the first 2 bosses are way easier than they used to be. This dungeon is a lot longer than I remember. That might be my fault. This is by no means a speedrun. I like to really take my time, especially in games like this or like RPGs, and really go everywhere and do everything, and, you know. Like, there was like a chamber in that dungeon I really didn't have to go to, but I did just for the sake of, you know, having a full map. You got a piece of power, you. Can feel the energy flowing through you. So, like I said, I'm not going to... There's a lot of optional stuff in this crane game, but there is some important stuff like the heart pieces and shells you'll see a couple times, or maybe like once each, I don't remember. But you see that little figure of the Chomp over there. You can collect figurines of all the Mario enemies and just kind of place them around the village for no reason. You get nothing for it. But everyone in Mabe Village has like a couple stands in their house. I'll show you in a second, where you can put these figures that you win at the crane game. Which, honestly, just feels like a dumb way to extend the life of the crane game for no reason. I think if they were going to do something like this where you collected figures, especially for Mario-related enemies and stuff, I think it would have been cool if maybe, like, you got the figure the first time you defeated that enemy. Of course, that would not have applied to Bow Wow or Chow Chow here, but... Oh. It feels weird doing a new game because, like, now I'm not just bullshitting, I'm, like, talking about the actual game for once. Like, everything I've played so far has not been... Nothing I've played so far has even been past 1997. And honestly, if you count this as just being a remake of a 1993 game, then I still haven't gone outside of the 90s. I forget if there's something in the shop yet. I haven't stolen from the shop yet. I might do that on... because I'm going to replace my other file that I got a death on with this one, assuming I don't die in this file. The death I got was so fucking stupid on my part. I went... you know, if you're familiar with the game, I went to the Dream Shrine between Dungeons 2 and 3, which is totally unnecessary because I would be coming back after Dungeon 3 anyway. And all you can get is like a bunch of rupees. And I wasn't paying attention to just how much damage the enemies in there do to you. And I lost all my hearts, got revived by the medicine, kept going and still lost all my hearts. So that kind of quickly ended my zero death run on the first file. It's time to play every Sonic game in preparation for Mario vs. Sonic. Sonic is the ultimate 90s. He is, like... you know, I'll give him that. He's very much like the embodied... at least classic Sonic was very 90s. Sonic CD is such a 90s looking game. And I guess just like his personality in general was very 90s. Just trying to be like in your face and cool. I don't know, we might get a Sonic game. Oh, whoa. We might get a Sonic game on stream someday. I don't know which one. You know what? Here's something I like. The map now, you can put markers in places, which is helpful for me. Oops. Can I hit the right button? Yeah. I've been using these markers to, as well as I know this game, there's a lot of things that I will forget to come back to. So I've been using these markers to be like, oh hey, there's going to be a thing here that I can't get now. But once I get, you know, this item or that item, I should go get it. So that's been helpful. It's been helpful in the later dungeons as well. Mainly to mark like what stairway leads to what room. Sonic CD and Mania is the best form of Sonic. I liked Sonic Mania. I remember you were the one who commented or like you said something because that was the first Switch game I got. Because Mario Odyssey wasn't out yet. And I bought... like, I got my Switch on my birthday that year. Downloaded Sonic because that was, like, the only game I really knew and wanted that I could just immediately download. And then got Mario Kart 8 later in the day, like a physical copy of it. And I remember you saying something about me. Like I ended my friendship with Mario, and now I'm a Sonic fan, or something like that. I enabled Smart Invert on my phone, but apparently it's just regular invert when you open Pokemon Go. What is Smart Invert? Or is that... I had to turn off phone rotate stuff because it never worked right. I have rotation lock on my phone, like, constantly. Because it would just rotate on its own half the time. I don't know if Smart Invert is a new thing I'm not aware of. I love this line, and I didn't think... this feels really odd for a Nintendo game. You must be an assassin sent by Madame Meow Meow to rescue the mutt. I always thought the assassin choice of words felt really odd, especially for Nintendo in the 90s. And I almost expected them to change that, but like I said, the dialogue is almost exactly one-to-one from the original, which makes me very happy. Invert is the color... Oh, the color's inverting. You found what Kevin said? I don't know if I can pull it up on... Oh yeah, I just looked at this drawing like 2 days ago. You've joined the correct side on your birthday. Friendship ended with Mario. Now Sonic is my best friend. I'm sorry I can't... I don't think I can easily display that drawing right this moment on stream. But yeah, I have that still with some of my other, like, gift art and stuff. So, Dampy's over here. My job on this island is to dig up interesting stuff. When you have some time to spare, come see me in my shack over there. I don't think it's available just yet, because you've only done one dungeon, but this is where, like, the dungeon creation stuff is. Oh, maybe it is. Oh yeah, you can't do it yet, but... It's a long chain you've got there. I won't do it for, you know, for the sake of it being pointless. But I love that if you rescue Bow Wow, and you take her back to Madame Meow Meow, and, alright, upon seeing her pet rescued, she says, "Now go take him for a walk." Which I understand is because you need him for this part of the game, but that just is like such a funny reaction. Thanks for saving my dog, now go walk him for me, I don't care that he's back. So that is a new heart piece you can see, but it's for later, but that was not there in the original. There's now 20 hearts instead of 16 that the original had. So this is now, you know, on par with, like, Link to the Past in terms of heart containers. And I guess most Zelda games had 20. Marking dig spots with the spade. Nice. No, I marked them with the diamond, but that's actually way too brilliant for me to have thought of. I'm sad I didn't think of that. Does Bow Wow prove that a Chain Chomp could destroy every single Zelda enemy in a single hit? Possibly. Bow Wow is too powerful for the world of Zelda. It would be interesting. I'm sure somebody's probably, like, glitched the game or something to bring Bow Wow into later areas. Or, I don't know, can you, like, keep Bow Wow as long as you want if you just never talk to his owner again? I've never tried that, actually. I think there's, like, some places that it won't let you in, so maybe not. Can't you take me someplace nice? Is that a line of dialogue? Does Bow Wow say that if you try to take him, you know, certain places that he can't go? Sam, how are you in my game and in the chat at the same time? Link's Awakening Link is the one that goes to Smash Brothers because he's the one that knows all of the other Nintendo characters. It would make sense. Now, Link's Awakening Link is the same as, well, obviously Link to the Past. But he's also the same as the Oracle games and the same as Zelda 1 and 2 Link, correct? Like, that's all one Link and across, you know, all those games. I believe. I'm not, you know, that well versed in the Zelda timeline, but I think I know that. I don't think it's the same as Link to the Past. 1 and 2 are the same. Link to the Past, I thought, and I never knew this till way later, the reason it's called Link to the Past is because it took place before The first two Zelda games. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe do the first two take place so much farther in the future that it is a different Link? I thought they were all the same, but you might be right. Link to the Past was the first reboot? Kinda, yeah. Instead of saying, you know, let's make a direct sequel, it was like, you know, let's reimagine it, or go back, or do something different. I know that Ocarina is the splitting point. Yeah. That's where it, like, splits into, like, the hero dies or the hero lives timeline or whatever. Or the hero is successful and the hero is unsuccessful. Oh, you know what I totally forgot to do? And I didn't even look at it? Was there's a bottle in the fishing minigame. Because there are bottles now that you can put fairies in, but yeah, that's the first one, and I just now thought of it. I love that they just... the exact same boo sounds as they make in the Mario games. So yeah, this is very nice as well. You don't have to equip the bracelet to use it. It's just there. The controls, you know, in this game, now that they've been able to update them, are almost exactly like Link to the Past. Save for dashing is not A. Since I guess they wanted to split it up and, you know, give lifting to A. And dashing is now ZL or L. Which is fine by me. This room, I think we're all in agreement here, this room confused many of us as kids. There is an owl statue, or in the case of the original, a stone tablet that tells you the order in which to defeat the enemies in this room to make the chest appear. And it says, first defeat the imprisoned Pole's voice, last Stalfos. And when I was like 8, and this was my first Zelda game, had no idea what that meant. The name Pole's voice for an enemy is confusing enough as it is. So it was just kind of like, you know, you got the imprisoned part, you kind of could figure out that it meant the one that was trapped. But then you're like, okay, well, what does Stalfos mean? imprisoned was the hint there. Yeah. And in this one, they even changed it further to say, they added the adjective of skeletal before the name Stalfos. Which is going to be, you know, much more helpful to people who are not familiar with Zelda or just do not know the enemies' names. Which I imagine would still be a good number of people. I think there's a line of dialogue added here, actually, too. He kind of spells it out a little more for you. At least he doesn't say it every time, though. I never picked up on Nightmare Key until just now. Yeah, they're not... Oh, that's nice. Good thing that wasn't my last hit. Yeah, they're not just, you know... I don't want to, again, spoil anything, but I think the fact that I'm saying that's a spoiler is a spoiler in itself, if you read into it enough. "26-year-old game." I know. And who else is, like, gonna be watching? But I still feel like there's some obligation to just kind of... Oh, wait. You have to wake the windfish. It's the fish's nightmares. Exactly. So here's something nice. More warp points. You alright there, Dampy? Alright. Was worried he was gonna be stuck there. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do any of this on stream. I can maybe, like, load up my other file and show you more in-depth, slightly, about it. Wouldn't expect cutscene collision. I know! That kinda surprised me, and it kinda worried me for a second. So there is a new heart piece here as well. Just kind of hanging out. I believe there are also some dig spots. Yep. For more seashells. I will mark it with a spade this time. Thank you, Sam. By the way, Sam, because I was talking to you specifically about it, when I was saying, like, I had only one heart piece left, I, as you saw, did figure out which one it was, and I'm ashamed to admit that it's one that was in the original game, not even a new one. It's one in the original game that I forget every single time, almost. I never remember it, and even though, like, you think, like, at some point I would be like, okay, I've missed this so many times that it's now memorable, I still continue to miss it. It's actually right over here, but I need bombs. So if there's bottles, what does Crazy Tracy do? The medicine is still revival upon dying. The fairies you have to manually use. So it's switched from the usual, in that fairies are what would normally revive you automatically, and medicine is what you would have to use manually. I think I really messed this up. So the one big complaint, which is not that big of a deal, but the frame rates vary often and quite wildly. It seems like when you load into like a new area of the map, the frame rates dip and then soon go back up to being more smooth. Now, I do not understand why so many people have such great concern about frame rates in games. You know, lag and stuff like that is a different story. Frame rates, I don't care. As long as it looks alright. Like, I'm good with, like, 24 or 30 frames a second. I don't mind. But the fact that this changes so often can be a little bit jarring. And it's kind of weird that it's even an issue. I mean, did I just... I'm not a game designer. I don't know how this shit works. I'm sure there's probably a reason that the frame rates do suffer a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know. I do like that, you know, like Kirby Star Allies had a very low frame rate when you were playing in the level. I shouldn't say very low. It was probably like 30. But then when you were in, like, the menus and stuff, the frame rate was probably like 60. But it wasn't like you were changing within the same thing. So I don't know. It's not that big of a deal to me. But in a case like this, I do understand some, you know, questioning of it. It needs to be a stable 30 unless you got to do a lot of dodges and stuff, then 60 or bust. I mean, I get for, like, frame perfect things. See, here's the bottle way down in the corner there. And it's kind of annoying to get because the fish will see it and, like, knock it away. But yeah, frame rates I don't mind. And I guess, you know what, maybe I shouldn't, I'm not really the person who should be talking about it because most of the games I play could use, could get by with lower frame rates and it wouldn't make a difference. You know, something like Smash Brothers, I assume is much more... Wow. Okay, this is the first time I've gotten the bottle straight away. Well, you know, first try, I mean. I would say, you know, something like Smash Brothers, you're gonna want to have a higher frame rate for that. Oh wait, I don't... What am I doing now? Fighting games have to be at 60 or else it just feels terrible. I'll take you... I mean, I have a feeling you would know better than me, because that's not my forte. Like I said, I'm probably not the best person to be speaking on this because most of the games I play are not going to be ones where you need, like, quick and very accurate inputs. So, you know, take my opinion on frame rates with a grain of salt. But they don't bother me when they're low. I can understand some frustration, but there are people who are, like, really serious about it. And I would like to say, in this case, that you think, like, this is a remake of a game from '93, why would there be frame drop issues? But, again, I don't know anything about game design, so I would like to think that there's a reason for it, and it's not just, like, an oversight or laziness that they didn't, you know, try to optimize, but I don't know. The sound died? I'm still... Oh, and you're... Scared me for a second. I'm still, like, in that You know, I've mentioned this before, but I'm still kind of like in that thing where I'm like worried I'll be not paying attention and then look over and realize like I've been offline for like 20 minutes and didn't realize it. Hey, what do you guys think Like tastes like? Haha, just kidding. Just asking for a friend. I've thankfully not, I think the only time I've ever, you know, consistently lost a shield in Zelda to likes is in the original Zelda, which is probably the worst one to lose it in. Or at least, you know, the upgraded shield. See, look, I already missed over there. Oh yeah, one thing I didn't mention, how do you describe it? The screen scrolls, in most areas. It scrolls freely, and, it's not just like one screen at a time, and then it all moves over. So, there are some spots where, like, you see, different areas of the island from areas that you're not used to seeing them from. Which I thought was going to be a little weird at first because it wasn't designed to, you know, it wasn't laid out to be that way, but it's fine. And then, you know, you see when you get into an area like this, it even has like a light change to make it feel like its own contained thing, even though you can see it from afar. Can you do the color dungeon after just the second dungeon? Because I usually do it after 3. Like, even though you're meant to do it after 3, it's accessible, I think. The color dungeon is in this game? Yes, it is. Obviously, color is now not as much of a novelty as it was in 1998. And you did not have the possibility that you wouldn't be playing the game in color. But they did leave it in. It's more, this is more of a remake of the remake of Link's Awakening, because it has like all the same features, like the color dungeon. It has the owl statues instead of stone slabs. A couple other things I forget. So yes, you can do Color Dungeon after 2. I'm gonna hold off on it anyway. Just because, well, I guess it wouldn't really be a problem, but the Golem mini-boss in that dungeon is kind of a bitch. Especially in this version. And I don't want to take too much damage, but... So there's a line here that I wish they had changed. Oh. You'll need to do some digging, so buy a shovel. Are you off then? Good luck. That always implied to me, I remember thinking... I remember spending hours digging for one of the gold leaves. But the shovel is needed afterwards to get the key. So I kind of wish they had adjusted that line. Because yes, you are going to need the shovel, but I feel like it implies you need it for the leaves, and you don't need it for the leaves. I was jealous that I never got to play the color dungeon. I had the original version, and then my brother got the DX version later on. So, I mean, I guess at some point I played his copy and got to play the color dungeon, and then it came out on 3DS, and they used the DX version, so I definitely played it there. But yeah, there was like a time where I knew about it and never got to play it. And the thing of the color dungeon was some of the colors, some of the you know, puzzles and tasks in the dungeon required color to kind of figure out. And so if you played on, you know, the original Game Boy or the Game Boy Pocket or something, you would not see certain things. In fact, there's a... And you'll see in this, but they had to change it a little bit. There's like 2 guards in the beginning of the dungeon that, what did I do here? In the DX version, there's these 2 guys at the beginning of the dungeon that say, like, one of us is red and one of us is blue, and you have to be able to tell them which one is red and which is blue, and it's never the same. And that was their way of checking that you did, in fact, you know, you were using a Game Boy Color. Now, you could, you know, conceivably just guess it correctly. And I'm sure you could just make your way through the dungeon in black and white, but... Another new warp point that is very helpful. And what's even nicer is when you learn the second ocarina song, you can warp to any warp point as well as the pond, instead of just to the pond. So quick travel is very much improved in this version. There's even another warp point over here. So there's now 50 seashells instead of... What did the original game have? 25 seashells? And you only needed 20? You get the sword at 40. And a few other different prizes along the way, aside from just more seashells. Some of the new music in this is really great, and some of it is, like, underwhelming. Like, none of it's bad, but I feel like there's a lot of parts where I almost don't even notice that the music is happening, like, particularly in dungeons and, like, the caves and stuff. You know, obviously, like, the overworld theme is very apparent, but then, like, some of them kind of go almost, like, unnoticeable, which is kind of disappointing. Like, again, they're not bad when you listen to them. They're not bad arrangements of the music, but they're not as striking as I would have expected. But the ones that are excellent. And oddly, Totaka's song is in the game. Kazumi Totaka himself is not mentioned anywhere in the credits, even in the section where they thank members of the game's original staff. And I found that kind of strange. Because when I think of his music, this is like the first game that comes to mind. Like this, or like Mario Land 2, or just like Animal Crossing in general. Come on. There we go. The grass and bushes respawn way faster than you'd expect. But I guess they kind of did that on purpose because, you know, if you left the screen and came back in the original, they would all be back. So even though there's now, you know, a flow to the scrolling, stuff respawns as if it's still single screen. I don't think I worded that very well, but so yeah, I think I've gushed as much as I can about this game now. I don't really have much more, you know, like a review to give on it. I'm just really happy this happened in general, and I don't remember, I mean, you said earlier that I didn't seem very excited, like, when it was first announced. I don't remember, like, what I had said at the time of the announcement, but, I mean, I cried when I saw that reveal, in the Nintendo Direct, and they showed, like, the opening. Because it was so unexpected, and this game does mean a lot to me. I think it might have been, you know, because we got Mario Maker announced, like, you know, 20 minutes earlier in the same Direct. So I think it might have been a bit of, like, overload, and I was still kind of, like, in Mario Maker hype mode while this was coming out, you know, much later. But make no mistake, I love Link's Awakening, and I love this remake for the most part. And I'm really glad it got a remake. I think if any Zelda were to get a remake, this is one that needed it and one that deserved it very much. Especially in a time where everybody wants Skyward Sword remaster, which I understand. I think everybody wants that game without the motion controls, from what I know. I've never played Skyward Sword. So I understand why that warrants a remake, but this one has clearly so much more that could be improved, and just, you know, it was so much more primitive compared to now. There was so much of a distance between 1993 Game Boy and 2019 Switch, where if you get a Skyward Sword remaster, I don't think there's going to be that much different, aside from if they do alter the controls, which would be a big thing. But it's not going to be as drastic as, you know, this. The motion controls weren't the issue. The big issue was how many times the game would pop up text boxes and tell you what a rupee was. Oh, yes, I am aware of that as well, but I forgot about that. Like, every time, like, you turn on the game again, I think it was, like, it reminds you what an item is. Like, a very minor item. Something like that. And that you have to go through each area, like, 3 times, yeah. Yeah, that I'm less familiar with. I just know, like, the basics of, like, why people are upset about that game. And it's a shame because I think, you know, based on what I do know, I think it probably had, you know, the potential to be one of the best Zelda games. And it had a lot of stupid shortcomings that ended up making people hate it. I love the art style of that game. Come on. The holes, surprisingly... the holes surprisingly retain their physics almost exactly like they did in the original, where you can kind of, like, slide out of them. And I was surprised by that. I thought we were gonna... I mean, I'm sure it isn't a whole new, you know, engine. But I thought, you know, little things like that were going to be changed. What is generally considered the worst mainline Zelda game? Is it one of the DS ones? Because I know people weren't really hot on those either. And I did play those, and they didn't really make that big of an impression on me as well. Probably Spirit Tracks. That's what I would have guessed. Like that. I feel like there's more, not hatred, but like people care so little about Spirit Tracks that it might as well, like, not even, like, nobody talks about that game. And when they do, it's just like the little, like, annoyances and stuff. And I don't remember the DS games that well. I only played them once each, and they obviously did not make an impression on me. The worst one that I've played is probably Twilight Princess. Now that's a take I don't think I've ever heard. Another one I have not played the majority of the 3D Zeldas, so I can't speak to them. I don't really like the vibe of Twilight Princess from what I've seen, but everybody seems to love that game. But, you know, different people have different tastes, so... There's not going to be a uniform, a unanimous consensus as to the best Zelda. Even though it's this one. The best Zelda is Majora's Mask. I have zero interest in Majora's Mask. That's another one, like, I watched my brother play a lot. But unlike Ocarina, I feel like Majora's Mask, I would like a lot of specific spots. Like, I would like doing a lot of puzzles and challenges and stuff. But I think I would hate all the area in between them. Not hate, but it wouldn't really be my thing. And I kind of feel that way about Twilight Princess as well. But it might just be, like, the darker, more, like, serious, sinister kind of vibe they have over, say, Skyward Sword, which I think would interest me. Based on how it comes off, how it's presented. The only two 3D Zeldas I've played are, and I know this is, you know, blasphemy, I've played Ocarina of Time, and I've played Wind Waker. And both of those games, my first full playthroughs of each of those were the remakes. And the reason I'm so standoffish to the 3D Zeldas is just because they seem so overwhelming to me. But then when I played Ocarina, I loved it. When I played Wind Waker, I loved it. So I don't know why I'm still putting off a lot of the others. I said earlier I would definitely like to try, as daunting as it seems, Breath of the Wild before the sequel hits, because I feel like that's such an acclaimed game that even the sequel has me, like, so interested, and I don't want to miss out on it. These guys were way easier to get in the Game Boy version. Oh shit, I wasn't paying attention. Does that come back? Or do I have to fight those guys again? Okay, we're good. I think Skyward Sword is better than Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is tonally all over the place. That's kind of the vibe I always got from that. Majora's Mask does sinister vibe way better than Twilight Princess. Oh, hi, Ratson. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. I had heard, one of the... Sam, what was it? You know, one of the nights you were texting me, like, after the stream, and she said you had just gotten, like, a new, personal best in Mega Man 2.
Yeah, 2957 in Mega Man 2 normal zipless.
Congratulations. I played, I guess this was my last stream, and this feels like forever ago, but I played Mega Man X one night, and another Mega Man speedrunner showed up. So I'm like, maybe I need to just play more Mega Man games, and I'll, you know, gain viewers by that, just from the Mega Man community showing up to other Mega Man streams.
I have a good friend of mine and friendly rival who has taken over my time in all the categories I run.
I mean, I can't imagine, like, I was doing, you know, like, when I was playing Mega Man 2 that night, and then I was playing Mega Man X the other night with, the other runner, and I was like, all the stuff I'm, like, little things that I'm, like, flubbing up on is probably, like, they're watching me like, oh god, this amateur hour over here. Couldn't even get in the Flame Mammoth capsule on the first try.
The one night I was practicing for a 100% Mega Man X race with the world record holder. Oh, the world record holder showed up. It was nuts. That's amazing. Like, it that's like the equivalent of you showing up for me. Because, like, I've not had, you know, many people come to these streams. And then for, like, a high-level speedrunner to show up for a particular game on more than one occasion now is very cool. And I really appreciate it. That's really awesome of you guys. I guess I have enough bombs. I was, like, updating my list of all the games I want to stream, or, like, all the ones I can think of, and I just got to the point where I was literally just listing every Mega Man game in order, because I want to go through that entire, the classic series at least. I will definitely do all of them at one point or another. You know, 1 through 11, the 5 Game Boy games, and Mega Man and Bass. I will do. Will like to do. I mean, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. I plan to do that very thing for a celebratory long stream in the future, 1 through 11 in one sitting.
That's awesome. I wonder if I have the stamina to do that, especially, you know, since I don't speedrun. It would take a lot longer. Not that, like, that seems conceivable to me, because the Mega Man games are not terribly long. For the most part. So that's, like, something I wonder, like, if I really put myself to it and sat down and just played
all 11 of them if I would not die by the end of it. Because as much as I play video games, I don't, and I've said this before, I feel like a broken record sometimes. And I don't want to annoy anybody by saying the same thing like over and over about myself. But I don't usually play games for very long periods of time in one sitting. I play them a lot over like multiple sessions with like breaks in between, depending on the game. And then like, you know, like a new release I'm gonna be excited for, and I'm gonna play that for. I did that with this. I played like all day. I played all day the past few days since this game came out. But that's not my usual fare. Which is why streaming is... it's another way streaming is a little bit different for me. Because I wouldn't necessarily sit for 2 to 3 to 4 hours with one game without any break. But I like streaming in the... I feel like it breathes new life into these games that I have played like 1,000 times. And it's become like... I revisit these games so much that it's now the same experience every time, and I just kind of like turn my brain off and it's... I just play it. So this is like a new way for me to play these old games and like talk about them and share them and have a new experience with them. I wouldn't speedrun them in any way. Would have to plan 9 through 11 a whole bunch to memorize them. But I could probably do it in 12 hours or so. I mean, like, yeah, each one takes me between like 1 and 2 hours, usually, I think. So... probably take me like twice as much time. I got a jet out already for my stream, playing Mighty Number 9 for the first time, and I'm waiting for the salt to build. Oh my god, I am waiting to build more of an audience to play that game someday, just as kind of a joke. Good luck with that. I won't keep you, but I've never been more angry about a game than I have with that, so have a good time playing that monstrosity. Thank you for stopping by, I really appreciate it. I will, I've never done a raid. If I can figure that out, maybe I'll raid Ratsin after this with all 2 of my viewers. I'm sure that will go appreciated. Oh, 3 viewers. Mitri's here. Hi. My brother's here, everybody. Where am I? Who am I? So, of the 2 of us, my brother is far more well-versed in Zelda than I am. I wouldn't say I'm like a fair weather Zelda fan. I'd like to think I'm more than that, but obviously, like I've said, there is a good chunk of the series I just haven't played. I still love it very much. And the ones I have played, I know very well. Well, some of them. This one, Link to the Past. Even the first two I kind of know. I've gotten, like, intimately familiar with 2. And I like it a lot more than I used to. Is this key just, like, a jape? Because you don't... Unless, I don't know, is that like a failsafe if you didn't unlock one of the other doors? Or if it's just there as a joke because this is the key cavern. And you just end up with one useless key left over. And of course my piece of power wore out. I think you're more familiar with Link to the Past than I am, honestly. Yeah, this and Link to the Past are the ones I know, like, the back of my hand, almost. Even though they're, like, I told everyone earlier, I forgot the heart piece that I also forget every other time I play it. You can need it. One door you don't have to go through, but you can use it. If you're efficient, you don't need it. Huh. I've always had it left over. I guess I'm efficient. So what can I do now? I did that. I played this game twice in a row in 4 days, and I'm asking where do I go? Not gonna miss that heart piece this time, though. Oh yeah, these things that you dash through, I never pictured them as being like balloons. Like these poppable things. And I don't know if that even is what they were intended to be like. I always thought they were like crystals. And that's kind of how they seemed in the original game, but I kind of like this take on them too. Because it's like different than it just being like a stone Luigi. We already got like the rocks you can pick up and these rocks that you can push, so why not make it something totally different? Oh yeah, I guess I said I was gonna do the color dungeon next. After well, I should go into the Dream Shrine and not die on this file. Yeah, this is where I died because, excuse me, coming in here after Dungeon 2 and before Dungeon 3, I didn't have the dash yet. And I was like trying to, you know, just do that to these enemies, which doesn't work. And then I was like trying to spin attack them. But I kept bumping into them and wasn't paying attention to, like, they do like 3 hearts of damage. And then I fainted, got revived, and then died. And that fucked up my entire first file. But I redeemed myself by not dying on hero mode. Which, hero mode, for anyone who doesn't know, is just, is it you? I already forget. Here I am, you know, trying to learn everybody, but it's, you take double damage and there are no heart drops, I believe. You can get fairies in... Fairies won't come from most places. You can get a fairy, like, at the specific fairy fountains. But, like, setting one of the anti-fairies on fire won't spawn a fairy. Fairies will never spawn from enemies. I was regretting coming into the Dream Shrine originally, but I realized I was confusing it with a rune in one of the Oracle games. Was it the one I started, like, half a year ago and still haven't finished? I don't remember which one it was in. Yeah, earlier this year, I guess it was probably after this had been announced. And I think also Vinny played Oracle of Seasons around that time. Probably for the same reason, in preparation for this. I don't really remember. I owned Seasons as a kid. My brother owned Ages. I only played like halfway through Seasons several times. And never played Ages. So I went back and I set out and I was like, I'm gonna finally play through both of these games and finish them. And I did finish Seasons. And I got 6 dungeons into Ages and just, like, forgot about it. So, and it's sitting just on my headboard looking at me every day. It's just become, my brother's game has now become part of my furniture. I will return to it. I don't think I'm going to... I mean, I've probably forgotten so much of it, but I don't think I'm going to, like, start anew again. Outside of the overworld, I confuse those two games a lot. I can see that happening. Because it almost is, like, 2 halves of a whole game. Oh, you're supposed to, the color dungeon. There's a book on the shelf in the library that you knock over in the same way that you knock the Book of Medora down in Link to the Past. And in it, it tells you how to move these gravestones to get into the color dungeon. But I already know, so why bother? Yeah, these are the guys who normally would test, quote-unquote, to see if you were playing on a Game Boy Color or not. But now they just kind of let you know you need magic powder, which you do. Not very much, but one of the mini-bosses requires it. And this was a nice addition at the time, you know, for the remake. This is, I mean, it's just one dungeon, but it's a pretty substantial dungeon, and you get a nice reward for it, which is either up your defense or up your offense.
I noticed that there are more than just the original 3 possibilities for the Windfish dungeon as far as room order is concerned.
I didn't even think of that. They probably added more variants on which direction you had to go, I guess, to you know, to make people I don't know what I was getting at there. To make reading the book more necessary. And getting the magnifying glass thereby more necessary. Because if you knew all the room orders, you could just guess and never get the magnifying glass, I suppose. I've never done that, but... We can afford the... Oh, yeah! Wow, I amassed that amount of rupees very quickly, surprisingly. Especially for having bought the $200 shovel and the $200 heart piece that's new to this game.
It's Sans Link's Awakening.
Ugh. You know what? I am very surprised. I, A, did not have that thought, and B, have not seen anybody else have that thought online since this has come out.
I'm gonna head out. It's been fun watching some Zelda.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Kevin. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out and everything. Hope you have a good one. Hope you have a good stream next time you stream. That's easy. I like these guys because they look like the Booblas from Yoshi's Island. If you don't know specifically what I'm talking about, they're like the ghost enemies in the World 2 Fortress. Who, like, I mean, they look almost exactly like that, so you would probably know what I'm talking about. Brilliant.
I tried to get my name to pop up on your Switch by going online and playing, but the notification never came down.
You were on earlier. And so was Sam. All my viewers are also playing Switch at the same time as me. You might pop up again. I don't know, like... For some reason, the only spot I can really put my Switch in its dock has a shitty wireless connection. But if I move it, like, 2 feet the other way, it's fine. So it might not have showed up just because, like, it's, like, offline right now. I don't know. Yeah, see, like, I barely got a signal. But friends are showing up, so... So chat, vote now on your touch-tone keypads. Am I doing blue or red tunic? Or am I doing don't be a wuss, just use your green tunic? All 2 of you. Do red this time? I don't actually know, once again, I don't actually know how many people are really here. Because my thing now says 1 viewer, and there are clearly 2 of you. Oh, I did not bounce. I think I need to go the other way first. Why are we even doing the color dungeon if not to get different mail? That's a good point. Completion, I guess. You could, you know, try to be a badass and be like, yeah, I went through the color dungeon for no fucking reason. As if beating the color dungeon is a badge of honor. Also, that was very, fast. I completed Dampy's final challenge in under 3 minutes. Would you just make, like, a staircase, like, right next to the thing leading to the boss? That's what I should have done. So you've done all of them now? I hate this one. Wait. Nope. Got real galaxy brain hours going on here. I don't think I've ever taken this long on this. Not that I'm smart enough to know the correct way of doing it, but I get lucky.
Chat, help. This has gone on way too long. Embarrassingly long. Yeah, I'm gonna reset that. What are the 4 hits? I did it really fast one time and surprised myself.
Taken over.
My brother has entered the room. I have passed the controller to Jordan. Amazing.
There you go.
Thank you. That was my brother live on stream, everybody. Helping me out with Babby puzzles. Those are like those fucking stupid little wooden puzzle things they give you at Cracker Barrel. To play while you're waiting. How do you clip some? Don't clip that. That's too long for a clip. That's like 4 clips. Yeah, we were talking earlier, this boss made, like, no sense in the original version, and is now very easy. Because you would kind of think you were making progress, and then it would be like, it would say, like, start over. For no reason. I'm sure there was a reason, but I didn't ever figure it out. I haven't done Red Tunic in a long time, actually, so this will be interesting. I almost always go Blue Tunic. Just because I figure you're gonna get a more powerful sword anyway. But you don't get a defense upgrade. So I feel like that's evening it out more. But, yeah, why not? I haven't done it in a long time, so... I don't think the lack of defense is going to affect things that greatly. Oh, I gotta get the shell and the chest back in level 1. And I can get the bow, as you said. A clip has been made.
Meech helps Nico with...
No, I can't read the rest. You both clipped it, oh my god. Finally something clip-worthy.
Yeah, I've never done that bad on that puzzle. Now, like I said, I usually just get lucky. I don't have the brain head to make figure out of puzzle like that. I can do the smaller ones, obviously. But those kinds of puzzles always confuse the hell out of me for some reason. I'm not actually smart. They only put me in advanced classes because I could read better than the other kids and do multiplication earlier. Now I'm not smart and have a failure complex. How many shells are we up to? Okay, I can get a new thing, I think. Green apple. These are the best kind for recovering hearts. I wouldn't know it, because the only other time I got a green apple, I was also full on health. I haven't seen those in a while because Hero Mode does not have them. Yeah, these extra work points are a very welcome addition. And that you can actually choose which ones you go to is great as well. Which, you know, it wasn't that big of a deal in the original, because there were only 4 warp points, and one was like at the very end of the game, so most of the time there were only like 3 warp points. And when you went on one, you would just go to the next one, and then you would have to go back in and go to the next one, and it would like cycle. You didn't get to choose. But it's a little nicer to be able to do this. And that thing I just got, that like vibrates or makes a sound or whatever when there's a seashell nearby. So that was helpful as well, since there are so many new. There's like twice as many shells this time around. It's a tuning fork. Yeah, and my brother got the edition, what was it called? Like the Dreamer edition of this game, and it came with an art book. And I flipped through that today, earlier. And it's really nice. And as you would imagine, there are like a lot of like concept art and alternate designs for things. And there was like several alternate designs for this little sensor that were so much cooler than just like a tuning fork. So I was kind of sad they didn't go with that, since they had, you know, it's not like they had to make it look like anything in the original game, since it didn't exist in the original game. But the art book is really nice. It's you know, really simple. It's pretty much just pictures, you know, a little bit of titles as to what things are, like the names of enemies and such. I wish they would do that more often. Nintendo, just, you know, if you're not going to make a major art book for something, make a little one. In the original, you could not get this shell before returning the ghost to his grave, I don't think. But you can get it early this time. Brilliant. So there's a new piece of heart. In the water there. Which way am I going? Going to Animal Village now, I guess.
I would love so much to see the Oracle games get revamped this way.
I think, you know, a lot of people have that same wish. I mean, that was probably like an immediate thought that most people had upon the reveal of this game, because the games are, you know, so similar to begin with. And it kind of makes sense. Like, why not just take this engine just like they did with the original Link's Awakening engine and, you know, remake the Oracle games in the same way and give them the same quality of life improvements. Because, again, I mean, you've been hearing me gush all night, but this really, like, obviously I'm still going to want to go back to the original game from time to time, but this really does make things better in a lot of different ways. Just like easier, more convenient. Art. I always tried to, in the original, she kind of like, she was standing up when you would enter the room, and then would like quickly sit down, and I always thought like if you got to her fast enough, she would say something different. Not so. So it doesn't really matter. She's not nude in this version. And I would not be surprised if there are people who are upset about that.
They're so underrated, I'd like to think it would bring a lot of people who have never played them in the past.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look at me. I just told you, like, I just finished Seasons for the first time this year, and played Ages for the first time this year, and still haven't finished it. And I do like them. So I have no excuse for not finishing Ages. I think I got burned out from doing both in a row. But I don't like them as much as this, but they're good games. Capcom did it. I mean, they've done a good job with all the Zeldas, I think, that they've done. You know, they did Minish Cap, and then, like, the Four Swords stuff. You know, as far as handing over Zelda to a non-Nintendo developer goes, they've done really well. So yeah, there probably are a lot of people who, even if they, you know, were around at the time, just missed them. And I think if they're younger, they're probably not something that a lot of kids are going to revisit because they're, like, as, you know, hugely critically acclaimed like other games from the past that they're going to want to play. I mean, this already is probably introducing a lot of that, and that's why I don't want to... I'm trying to not slip and spoil anything. Because I don't know who's going to end up seeing this, or who is seeing this, but... there are a lot of people who are now experiencing this for the first time, and, you know, whether it was because they're too young and just never played it, or if, you know, it was something they weren't interested in at the time. Like, so many people got into Zelda because of Breath of the Wild, and a lot of people have been asking the question, how are those people going to... what are they going to think about this game? And I'm very curious, because it's, you know, obviously completely different. And I would like to hear from some of those people, how they think the two styles of Zelda compare.
I've seen all over Twitter people saying they're playing Link's Awakening for the first time ever, which is fantastic. And I've also seen that a ton, that Breath of the Wild was so many people's first Zelda game.
Yeah, like, Vinny has brought up a couple times that he has, like, a friend who, like, the Switch is, like, the first Nintendo system he's owned in a very long time, or ever, or something like that. And he fucking loved Breath of the Wild. I think Vinny said he was gonna lend this game to that friend. So I would be interested to hear that down the line. What if you say no to her? Oh. I feel bad now. We have to restart. I made Marin sad. I didn't know she was actually going to repeat everything. Cutest animation ever happening. I know. I fucking love this. And I love how... Again, I'm gonna keep saying this. How faithful this is. Like, this... You could overlay this to the original, and it would just look like they upscaled it. I love that. I always loved that little, like, oh, you got Marin as an item. Or as if she was an item, rather.
You and I have somehow failed to talk about how great the item usage is in this game. Perpetually having the sword, shield, Pegasus boots equipped is amazing. I had to pause so much less this time around.
Yeah, yeah, me and you, we didn't talk about that together, but I did say that earlier. I think I've said it on Twitter, maybe, or something. It's excellent because, and I think that is probably the biggest, or you know, like the most glaring improvement. Just we have more buttons now, and because you were limited to 2 on the Game Boy, you were in and out of menus depending on what you needed. And like I told them earlier, like we both said, we kind of always had the sword and the feather equipped on, you know, for normal circumstances. This part's not necessary. You can just take Marin here for a little cutscene. What was I saying? Yeah, again, about just having more buttons. You're spending less time in the menus. And it feels more like Link to the Past. It's even better than Link to the Past because, you know, Link to the Past, you could only change 1 item. And now you can change 2 items. Even though I tend to... Have you seen me switch the feather from Y since I got it? But, you know, regardless, it's set up a lot like that. Sword on B, grabbing is A. They move dashing to its own dedicated button on L and ZL.
Similar to when they remade Ocarina of Time and you could equip 5 items, including the iron boots.
That was great. And it was weird because that was like my first... Even though I had played Ocarina a little bit before, that was the first time I went all the way through the game. So I didn't know how tedious like the water dungeon was. The water temple. Let's let Marin play the crane game. The trendy game, if you will. It's not so bad being trendy. Everyone who looks like me is my friend. But yeah, with Ocarina of Time, like, the whole time I was in the water dungeon, you know, instead of the 3 C buttons, you had X and Y, and then 2 buttons added to the touchscreen, which were, like, at the, you know, very comfortable to, access, and gave you, like, certain items that you couldn't even equip that way in the original game, such as the boots. And you could just turn the boots on and off through the touchscreen, like, in an instant, instead of pausing and selecting them, and turning them off, and then unpausing. Plus the, you know, as an aside, the gyro aiming in Ocarina of Time 3D, also fantastic, I think. It was just so much more accuracy, I feel like you got, than, Is it a little weird to use? Maybe. Maybe! But it just felt nicer, than, like, kinda hamming around with the analog stick.
How did she move the crane down?
Well, she's a pro. She knows the secret button combinations to move the crane in other directions. Which is up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start. Oh, that's... Okay, you know what? That's nice about having the added offense. Because now the Pokies just die. Instead of, you know, they would bounce around normally.
We just had a power surge. Am I even still online? I mean, nothing seems to have happened, but... Did that knock me off Wi-Fi or something? I'm still here?
That's amazing. I really thought that was... You know, it was a very quick surge, but I thought that little hiccup was going to be enough to, like, totally knock me. We have luckily avoided any major, you know, stream issues during the stream. You know, aside from that one night where I was just dropping 90% of the frames as soon as I started, so I just didn't stream. But other than that, you know, knock on wood, haven't had much issues.
When I first read the Sea Bear's phone line, I thought it was talking about noun bears, not verb ones.
I really stumbled through that sentence, I apologize, but... Sea bears, yeah. Like from SpongeBob.
Sea bears are sea bears real?
Like, I mean, is there something named Sea Bear? I got the shells, right? I already forgot. So here's something new. The walrus gives you a little shell when he hears Marin's song. Wow, I've been going for longer than I realized.
Should I do one more dungeon? We're almost at 3 hours.
It's like, I don't want to put this game down. It's a game I've played, you know, like 100 times. I've played it twice in a row, and I still want to keep playing it. Let's do it? Alright. I think we can... It won't be that bad. Dungeon 4 is not bad. I didn't realize what time it was either. What? I always forget about that shell. I don't think... Oh, I think the next gift is at 25, actually. Can't get... I don't think any of these yet that I marked. Yeah, let's just, I probably would have done this a lot, you know, sooner if I wasn't cutting down every blade of grass and killing every enemy. Yeah, there's a shell here. This took me a little bit to figure out. I kept digging around here. I kept diving in the water. But I thought this looked suspicious. And there you go. Exactly why are you cutting so much grass? Because it's like so much quicker to do than it was in the original. That it's just kind of like you might as well and just rack up the rupees. Like it just feels really like it's such a swift movement. It's like satisfying as well. So I'm just kind of going at it. And I am going to 100% this file, even though there's, like, I'm going to do some stuff, minor stuff off stream. So I am going to need the rupees anyway. Habit, yeah, a little bit of that too. Oops. Sorry, I was looking at something and I didn't want to... I was checking my, my Twitch, you know, mobile app. Just to see, because it still says 1 viewer. But even my app says 1 viewer, so I don't know why my viewer numbers are never accurate. Not that I expect them to be much higher. But I would like to know. I really thought playing this would have brought in some more people. But I just can't get past that 3 viewer mark. I can't ever make affiliate or partner or whatever because I can't even get 5 people at the same time. Paul got lost, just like he said. Now I'm going to refer to myself in the first person. That was another weird bit of text in the original, because I thought, like, that first sentence was, like, narration or something, and then Papal was talking. But apparently it was just Papal talking about himself. There's a shell up there I can't get yet, so that's why that thing is going off. Alright, one more dungeon. And this is, you know, the last dungeon that's pretty straightforward. Because from here on out, the dungeons start to trip me up a little bit. But like I said, the pins in the map have been very helpful. Because I'll use them to mark the staircases and see what leads where. Because I would always forget in the original. Especially like in Dungeon 5 where you're fighting the Skeleton Knight or whatever. And he appears at 4 different spots in the dungeon in a certain order. I would always end up at the room that he wasn't in yet. I don't need a ferry. Hey, you guys know what tomorrow is? I know everybody's excited. Mario Kart Tour releases tomorrow. I'm sure everyone will talk about that and download that for 2 days. And, you know, just like the other Mario apps, we'll never hear about it again. I'm mildly interested. I think it looks better than it did at the beta. I don't know if there's still, like, some gacha elements going on. It kind of seems like that, like you win, like, random characters. But I don't think it's to the extent where you're practically paying to be better at the game. At least I hope not. I was sadly not thrilled with Dr. Mario World. Like, it was fun for a little while. Can I get in here? Thank you. But it got old really quick. It was a nice, different take on Dr. Mario. In concept. But, I never... because it was Dr. Mario, but a puzzle game in which you had limited moves. But, I never felt like me losing a level was ever any fault of my own. I just felt like they gave you shitty pieces, like, instead of giving you the same pieces every time because there was a set way to solve the puzzle. You just got random pieces. And if you didn't get the right ones, then it's like, why don't you buy more pieces? And I'm not going to spend a dime on that or Mario Kart. But I know there are people who have and will. And I think that's kind of scummy. I thought Nintendo was, you know, above that. I used to just, like, chase this guy by dashing, like, all around. Now I just jump over him. Which I know is something probably most people do. But I didn't figure that out till relatively recently. Also, I did not know those things were like hamsters. They don't look at all like that at least not to me, in the original. Shit. I wasn't paying attention to the order here. I mean, no, it's different.
I did the same thing, just trial and error.
Well, that one tells you the order that you use in the later room. But it's like I just mindlessly did it and wasn't actually paying attention to the order. And I'm still not sure I remember it. But I think in the original game it's the same every playthrough, but now it's been different every time. This being my third time. So yeah, like the windfish egg dungeon thing order. They added some more you know, little differences or little extra good commentary. You can tell I've been going for 3 hours. It is different in the original? I thought it was always the same. See, I did... At least it's a little more telegraphed that you did something wrong. I'm kind of interested in the... I don't know if anyone has gotten one or is considering getting one. But I'm like morbidly interested and curious about the Switch Lite. But I'm seeing there's already issues with it. It's having the same stick drift issues, like, immediate, like, already. It just came out the same day this did. And people are having, stick drifts. Something's also up with the D-pad. So, as much as I would love, a more pocket-sized Switch, and it is supposedly... I still haven't really seen it, and I would like to, try it hands-on. It is apparently more or less pocket-sized. And as appealing as that is to me, because I do play my Switch almost exclusively in handheld mode, you know, if they're not going to fix the stick drift thing, that's a deal breaker. I mean, I don't want to give up the on-TV play, because, you know, I wouldn't be able to do this, for instance. But supposedly from, you know, early accounts that I've seen and asked about, having your content across multiple Switches is apparently pretty good and, you know, not that bad. Like, not too limiting, but I would like to hear some more in-depth opinions on that, but, you know, most importantly, they're gonna have to fix that. That's not acceptable. Let's get that class action lawsuit going again. Not quite done. I missed a chest in here that I'm gonna go back and get. It's just rupees. Yeah, it's just right over there.
You can get a Switch Lite on eBay for the low price of $192.50.
Wow. Savings. I would, I would gladly pay full price if there wasn't fucking stick problems. Still, after they're aware of it and fixing it. Now it's embedded into the system. It's so weird because Nintendo's hardware has always been of like the highest quality and like so much quality assurance has gone into their stuff, and now they're having this with like their best selling system in a long time. Okay, yeah. I said I would stop. I still kind of don't want to. You heard me. I love this game. I think this is a great remake. It's a matter of, do you want to spend $60 on it? I mean, yes, I love it. Yes, I think this is very good, but I don't know if it really is truly worth $60, but Nintendo can get away with it because they're Nintendo and because nostalgia, for a lot of people, I fell for it, but this game means a lot to me, so I was, really excited for it. But, if you ever see it, if it ever goes on sale, like a Nintendo Select thing in, like 3 years in the future, you ever find a used copy, especially if you've never played Link's Awakening, I would definitely highly recommend this. And if you've never played Link's Awakening and don't want to spend the money on this, just play the original.
Don't worry, they're about to make the Joy-Cons more breakable by adding a hinge.
I saw that. Yeah, there was like the top of it flips down or something. What the fuck is that about? I don't know. I have news. Banjo's in Smash? In Japan? Alright. By the way, this ended up being really good. Super Kirby Clash. It's free. When they showed this at the Direct, even though it was free, I was like, look, you've made this game twice already. I'm not really that interested. I've put like 12 hours into this already. And I haven't spent a dime on it. So, if you like Kirby well enough, I think it's pretty good. So there you go. I reviewed Zelda for 3 hours, and I reviewed Super Kirby Clash for 30 seconds tonight. But that brings us to the close. I think this is now... You know what? This might not be the longest stream yet. Not that... You know, I end every stream talking about how long it was, and if it's the longest or not yet. But I think Kirby's Dream Land 3 went on a little bit longer than this one. But, yeah. Thank you guys for coming and joining and talking. It's been fun. I'm enjoying this game. I might do a little bit of stuff off stream and then return to this soon. Hopefully not like a 20-day gap in between. I'm planning on, sometime in October, I would like to play Luigi's Mansion. That might just be like a one-stream thing. I think that game is short enough to do that. Aside from that, Yoshi's Island maybe, now that it's right here. I would love to stream that, but I would love for more people to see it, so I don't know yet. But yeah, that's what maybe I'm hoping to do for the future. And more of this, obviously. We still got like half the game to go. So it might be 1 or 2 more streams, I think. But yeah. A good time was had by all. Thank you, special guest Dimitri, my brother, for helping with the baby puzzle, because my brain hurt. It's past my bedtime. I'm sorry. Yeah, I will fuck off, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for coming. Have a good night.